So I'm here to talk today about identity and my story about identity. And I think probably I noticed how many of you are teachers, for a lot of you, a story about identity. When I was 35 years old, I had blonde hair that came down to about here. It was really silky and soft, and I liked to twirl it and flip it, and it was awesome. And then it fell out. It took about 2 years, and in the course of that 2 years, I went from that to absolutely no hair anywhere on my body, which some people actually pay a lot of money for. I didn't want that. And it threw everything about what I thought I was, and which sounds, well, now silly, but at the time, very real. And I wore hats everywhere, and I wore bandanas, and one day I was wearing a bandana and I went for a walk, and my bandana flew off and it flew down into this ravine, and it was in Hong Kong, and I'm afraid of snakes, and I was pretty sure there were snakes in that ravine, but I really wanted that bandana, and I was really stuck, like, what do I do, what do I do? So I went back to work and I called a cab, and I got in the cab and I went home. And that was sort of a pretty low moment. And then I started trying to figure out, what am I gonna do about this? I can't keep hiding it. It just, every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a different person. I tried wigs. I had my pretty girl wig that, anyway. And and then I had this other wig that I called the forgettable woman wig. I couldn't get service at Starbucks or anywhere. It wasn't Starbucks, but there was something about this hairstyle that invisibilized me. I highly recommend it if you're having a bad day. And every time I looked in the mirror, I'd see these different characters that I was playing, and I felt like I was playing a character, and I thought, this is just ridiculous. I have to stop. It's done. So I put them away, and I started going out naked. I did. I felt like I was naked, and I would go places, and I always got seated first, anywhere. People would get up for me on the bus, and it didn't take me long to figure out that they thought they'd figured out something about me, and it made me really sad, and it was even harder, because then I realized people thought I was sick and I had no hair, and probably the worst point of that was once I went for a manicure with my mom, and this very thoughtful woman paid for our manicures without us knowing. And I thought, oh, God, I don't know if I can do this. And then I thought, well, you know what? Actually, she probably feels a lot better, because whatever was going on for her, she could do something about that. And whatever I represented to her, that moment for her changed something for her and made her feel okay about that, about helping someone. And that empathy and that thoughtfulness just made me think, wait a minute, maybe I'm looking at this like it's a conflict, and maybe I can just be it and just accept that people will see in me what they choose to see, but I'm still going to be me no matter what. And so I just started kind of doing that, and then it was months later, I was walking down the street with my niece, and I hadn't seen her in a while because she lived overseas and I lived overseas, and we were walking down the street, and she turned to me and she said, "Sarah, why is everyone staring at you?" And I looked at her and I said, "What? Why do you think they're staring at me?" I'd completely forgotten. I'd forgotten that people stared at me. I'd forgotten all about it. It was over for me. And at that moment, I knew that it was over. I could just get on with my life and just accept that I was a bald woman. And the funny thing about that is that it's given me this kind of truthometer where I get really bothered when people are not accepting who they are when they're doing what they're doing, and I run into this in technology a lot. So I teach teachers, and I teach a lot of teachers. In the last 3 years, I've probably taught about 1,000 teachers, and I really push them to bring technologies into their classrooms, and And actually, I even at one point was in charge of budgets, and I funded lots of laptops and Chromebooks and tablets and all kinds of things to go in the classrooms. And I said to the teachers, just get it in the classroom. You'll use it. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. It's going to be great. It doesn't take much. And they're all like, oh, you're kind of crazy. and then I went in the classroom. And yeah, I was kind of wrong. Okay, I was really wrong. You can't just put a laptop in a classroom and make it work. And we spend all this time talking about the kids, and the kids will do it, and the kids will drive, and the kids need it, and the kids want it, and the kids need to do this for the kids. We need to stop talking about the kids just for a minute and start talking about our teachers. Our teachers were educated at a time, a lot of them anyway, when there weren't laptops in classrooms. When, frankly, there weren't laptops. When I went to university, a laptop didn't exist. That's a huge change in one career, to have to suddenly deal with a whole different way of doing things in a classroom. A lot of people went to school thinking that they were going to have to know every single fact, and they remember them all. They've got books and bookshelves of everything. How many of you still have your books from college? Yeah, okay, a few of you. Why? Why do we still have books from college? Is there anything that I learned in university that's still relevant or that hasn't been there are new planets now. And then they stop being planets. I can't keep track, but I know Google knows. We need to help each other get to that point where we can recognize that new identity for teachers. And I think there's a relationship between what I went through when I had to accept that despite my best intentions, I wasn't going to have hair. And our teachers aren't going to go back to the way school was. We're in a whole new way of doing things, and we have to find that way to connect with that and become it. So in order to start that process, I would like you guys to take out your phones. I'm going out on a limb here, guys. Take out your phones and connect with a new generation, and let's take a selfie. Thank you very much.
Great job. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that. Okay.